Hello, my name is Emma Maleszewski, and I am a seventh grader at John Adams Middle School in Rochester, Minnesota. My chosen area of study was bush beans, and specifically how the color of light affects their growth. As I just mentioned, the purpose of my study was to understand how light color, or light wavelength, affects the growth of bush bean plants. Plants use a process called photosynthesis, in which the plant absorbs light and uses that energy to turn carbon dioxide into sugar and oxygen. Light coming into the plant from the sun is white light, made up of all the colors in the rainbow. I wondered if specific colors of light were better than others at driving this process. My hypothesis for this particular experiment was that bush beans would grow best under red light. This slide shows the steps that I took to engineer a box for the bush bean. I initially drew out a sketch of a 4-cell box that would have all the same environmental conditions in each of the cells, but have different lights allowed in. I took this drawing to my dad, who helped me build the light box in our garage. In figure 1, you can see me cutting the wood and assembling it. I planted 3 seeds in each of 4 pots and appropriately labeled them 1, 2, and 3, so that I could run the experiment 3 times at once in each terracotta pot. We installed transparent light filters in the top that let either white, red, green, or blue light through, as shown in figure 3. Each pot was exposed to 12 hours of light and 12 hours of dark per day, using a timed light over each filter. The plants were given 12 milliliters of water every other day to help the growth. I monitored each plant daily for 4 weeks, looking at stem length and leaf number to assess their growth performance. I recorded all my findings in my journal on Apple numbers. Here are my results from this experiment. In figure 4, you see the average stem height in each of the 4 pots. You'll see that white was the first to rise, followed by green, blue, and then red. Ultimately, all of them ended at about the same height, except red, which grew slower and plateaued lower than the others. Figure 5 shows the average leaf numbers in the pots. Overall, white and blue produced the most leaves, followed by green and then red. Lastly, figure 6 shows the average weight of each pot during the duration of the experiment. You'll see that the weight rose, reaching peak at the mid-experiment, and then fell later. The red and blue pots weighted the most at the end, followed by the green and then the white. Figure 7 shows a photocomposite of each of the plants at the end of the experiment. You could see that each pot had growth of the 3 seeds, and there was some individual variability within each pot. Instead of looking at just averages in each pot, I also thought it would be interesting to see how the best plants in each pot grew over the experiment. The last graph, figure 8, shows that the best plant in this green pot grew slower than those in the white, red, and blue pots, all of which grew at about the same rate in time. The blue pot produced the largest plant by about 3 centimeters. This sort of makes sense because plants absorb green light the least. They reflect away the color of light, which makes them look green to us. In conclusion, visible, white light has many different wavelengths of light ranging from 400 to 750 nanometers. Chlorophyll, the pigment in plant cells, absorb blue and red wavelengths best. Green is reflected. This is why plants appear green. Based on my results, they prove that, on average, white light promoted faster, earlier plant growth, followed by blue light and green light. Red was least effective at supporting average plant growth, although the best plant under the green light was the shortest of all the plants, and the best plant under the blue light was the tallest of all the plants. In the end, my hypothesis that bush beans growing under red light would do best was not supported by the data. Rather, blue and white light did seem to support the best growth individually or on average. It is possible, had the experiment run longer, I would have seen other lights do better, or perhaps they would have continued down the same trend or all merged. The high weight of the pots in the middle of the experiment was a little strange and unexpected. Why they decreased that until the end, I'm not sure. It's possible that not increasing the amount of water as the plants got bigger was a mistake. Remember, I only gave them 12 milliliters of water every other day through the whole experiment. Maybe they started to dehydrate a little. If I ran the experiment again, I would probably increase the water over time as the plants grew. It is possible this would have affected the growth too. In the end, I would consider running the experiment longer and increasing the water delivery over time. I would be very interested to see bean production in these plants too, as I think that would be another important measure. But I just didn't have time in this first run of the experiment. I still think this work is very important to helping to figure out how to make your plants grow better.